Joining BYU Sports Nation right now for the first time, making his debut in Studio B, is Luka Slabe, men's assistant volleyball coach for the Cougars. Luka, welcome to Studio B.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, your journey back to Provo, let's start there. When did you decide that coaching at BYU and coming back to Provo was a realistic option for you in your professional career?
You know, I was playing with that idea for, I would say, a couple of years, but never got to the point where that actually would be possible to execute. In December, I was Skyping with Chris McGowan, and somehow, you know, we came down to, hey, Luka, you want to come to BYU? We want you. We would like to have you. And I'm like, Chris, give me a couple days. And I think it lasted a couple days to figure it out, you know. Talked to my wife, and it felt like a good idea and great opportunity in my career, in our lives. And then it's a long process to, you know, to actually, not to get hired, but the whole paperwork with visa and stuff. So I had to be low profile for a couple more months. Meanwhile, I did resign as a national team head coach, and everybody was like, why? But I couldn't tell them exactly why. So I had to keep it low profile, and here I am.
Was it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I took that decision, I knew it was worth it. As soon as I resigned, I knew it's a good move on my behalf. And yeah, as I said, I'm very thrilled, and I'm very enthusiastic to be here back to this program and this university.
Interesting. So that means they knew that Mike Wilton was going to retire. There'd be a position, kind of penciled you in there, and then you came in after. That's great. Then Chris McGowan decides, okay, I'm gonna have more family time. I'm gonna step down. So when do you get that news, and then do you ask, do I have a job there still?
Yeah, Chris called me a couple days before he was about to announce his decision. And it was not the most comfortable thing that I've heard in those days. And yeah, one of the questions is, hey, am I still on board? Because you have to know I resigned from the national team. I told my agents that I'm done with Europe now for a few years, so don't look for my team. And in Europe, teams are searching for coaches already in February, so I closed the door. There was no way for me to get into any serious club. And we sold our house, and my wife resigned from her job. You know, she's a big-time business lady, so we did it all, and now here I am. Chris resigned, am I still on board? But Chris told me, yes, you're on board. I received the phone call from the athletic administration. They told me, Luka, you're all good, and whoever is going to be our new coach, you're going to be on board. No worries.
So at that point, you're thinking, who's the new head coach, right? And then it happens to be one of your old teammates, luckily.
Yeah, you know, first I thought, okay, Rob's been here for how many years? He'll most likely get hired. And then Sean applied, and now we have, I think, a 50-50 run right there. And yeah, I had an opportunity to play with both these guys. They're great gentlemen, and we're good friends. And I was like, you know, either of these two guys, I think we're going to do a really good job. And as I said, I'm thrilled to go to the gym as soon as possible and do some damage.
What was that first conversation like with Sean Olmsted when he officially became the head coach and you knew it and that you two were going to be back together?
It was very brief because Sean was just hired. He had to come to some closure with his women's team, was media, was just tons of stuff that needs to be handled. So our meeting was maybe 15-20 minutes. And last week, traveling and recruiting, that's where we actually got to spend a little bit more time planning and, you know, kind of throwing things on the table to see what must be done to be successful in the next few years.
Is he still the same kind of guy that he was when you played with him at BYU?
Sean right now is the same Sean that I know.
He was that weird?
Yeah, he was always special. Sorry, Sean.
Did he wear neon back then? Like he wears a ton of neon now. Did he wear neon when he was there?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No? It wasn't a thing like in 02, 03.
Yeah, I don't think it was out there yet. Maybe.
What made you want to come back to BYU?
So Europe is it's a very different place also when we talk about sports. So professional volleyball, it's challenging like college volleyball or any professional or college sport. Biggest difference over there is that team presidents or directors or owners, they don't give you any time to grow. So usually, yeah, you can sign the long-term deal over there is 2 years.
Wow.
Okay, so it's really, really hard to put something in place. And usually it's hard to bring your staff with you that's going to back you up, that's going to work with you and make this program successful. That's number one thing. Number two thing is you drive for a couple hours, north, south, east, wherever. You're in different country with different language, with different culture. Everything is different. Here you go from east to west, cuisine might change, but otherwise everything stays the same. And to move my family around with my kids going to school and my wife being a successful business lady, it just didn't sound and feel right, to move around, and I'm going to be away for 10 months with my family, and then I'm with the national team for another 2 months. So I did the math, and if I would continue with this type of lifestyle, I would be away from my family, I would say probably 3 years straight, basically seeing them maybe a week, a year, and every now and then maybe a weekend. So I'm like, I'm done with that. I need to take advantage and opportunity to go to BYU and to United States, and I get to see my kids in the morning, I get to see my kids in the evening, and my wife, of course. So that was one of the biggest reasons were for me to come here. And also, we know BYU is one of the best institutions in the world. Volleyball program, not just volleyball program, but all the athletic programs are just top of the notch. And it's just great environment to be in, and that's where I want to be with my family.
You bring up cuisine, and it's obviously very different. You get back to America, talking to your wife, family. What's the first thing you want to eat when you get back to America?
Cafe Rio. I'm a frequent fly member, so I think first 2 weeks I was 12 out of 14.
Wow.
Well done.
Okay,
So I was almost there. Almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You played at BYU in a special time where in 01 there was a championship, and then I think what would have been your senior year, 04 BYU won it again. What was it like during that era as BYU kind of took the step to the next level, and now as a coach you hope to take BYU back to that level?
Yeah, when I came to BYU was, of course, a little bit of shock. I'm not talking about culture, church, or anything. I'm just saying volleyball. Here's Carl McGowan, Hugh McCutcheon, Troy Tanner, guys with gold medals. And here is Luka coming and telling Carl, maybe we should do it like this. And he tells me, so maybe you should go home. And, and here I am.
That's classic Carl.
Yeah, and I figured out that, I'm going to have to change. I'm going to have to be open-minded. I'm going to have to learn. And it was a highly demanding environment. So I can say for 4 years I was tired, not just physically, but also mentally. I was trying to be a good student, to be a good husband, to be the best teammate for my teammates. And that's what I learned. Work hard, try to establish demanding environment, to have high values and standards, and seek for details, because that's the only way to get better and to have some progress and to win the championships.
Let's fast forward now back to this year and what you bring back. And Jeremy and I have discussed this. The future looks very bright for BYU Volleyball, especially with the addition of Ben Patch and the emergence of Brendan Sanders. So when you look at this year's team, what are your expectations?
It's not just these two guys. It's the whole picture has to be in place. The whole support team. It's not just support. Every guy is going to have a tremendous value, because these two guys that you've mentioned, they're not the only guys that can carry this team. And we have guys that are eager at getting better to perform at higher level. Of course, these two guys, I hope they can be our leaders. I don't know if they've shown that so far, but that's something they need to do in case for this program to be successful. And as I said, it's not just these two guys. And I really hope there's going to be more guys standing up to a challenge. And what I really want is to have these guys to keep each other extremely accountable for everything that's going on in their lives right now.
You're a former national team coach, as you mentioned, of Slovenia, where you're from. Brendan Sander, Ben Patch getting some experience with Team USA. What kind of value does that add to their game for the upcoming season?
Yeah, as I said, it's not just these two guys, it's also Jake. He's down in Anaheim, and these guys are getting valuable reps to at least practice during the summer. Most of the guys, they don't get that because they're not on any type of national team or program that will allow them to get those reps. So for us, from the point of getting better, this is extremely important. I wish all the guys could do that. You know, overseas, there's no limitation. In Europe, there's no limitation on practice time. So you can do whatever you want to do as a coach with your players. And, of course, the question is the players, they want to do it or they want to have just fun and rest. But, yeah, we're trying to make sure these guys get lots of reps. I hope they play some sand volleyball because that's the closest thing they can do to volleyball right now. I hope they're doing weights because it's going to be extremely demanding fall.
You already shared with us one little tidbit featuring Carl McGowan.
Yeah.
What's the #1 lesson you took from him that you will implement in your own coaching style?
Attention to detail, no mediocrity. So those are two big ones, but you know, we can talk about this for hours, but just hard work and be loyal to what you do. And yeah, and there's many other things, you know, he's my Bible. So, you know, so that's Carl.
When you look at the coaching staff, so Sean Olmstead, head coach, you're an assistant. Is the other assistant in place yet?
You know, I really hope Rob will stick around and he decides to stay with us. Otherwise, we're going to be, you know, fishing for another assistant coach because we need that coach as soon as possible so we can start organizing fall and especially winter.
Luka, it's been great to have you in Studio B. We would like you to sign our BYU Sports Nation Rise Up flag before you leave. That's something that all of our in-studio guests do. And
we haven't had too many Slovenians send the flag.
That's true.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine. Thanks for having me, and I hope the next time we talk in the studio, we're going to have a title under belt.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I think we'll talk to you before then.
Okay,
during the season.
Okay, even better.
We won't wait till May.
Okay.
Yeah, on your way to another title, Luka Slabe, assistant coach of BYU men's volleyball, making his debut on BYU Sports Nation. Jerem, hand him the goods.